was always debated. It really was. I mean, for a long period of time, and it's still debatable, is it not? Whether or not baseball is successful here in South Florida. Would you say? I mean, the only people so far that I think it's been really successful for were Laurie and Sampson.
Yes.
Who cashed in billions. Everybody else has left here kicking and screaming, have they not? The son-in-law and Pops, who, went from buying Dayglow Jesus paintings to all of a sudden, he's in the bidding at Sotheby's for a Van Gogh.
Exactly.
It's an original there, Jeff. Okay.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest and a very handsome-looking Mike Lubitz with you till 9 o'clock today. Always good to be with you on any day. And I would have to say, maybe we have to issue some sort of informal apology to our good friend Jim Sarney, who we often mention here on the program, a guy who is a sports fan. I mean, gets into, and I respect this. I really do. I have a great deal of respect for it. I like a lot of sports. I like virtually everything. I know we have our fun talking about, and I don't know, we're going to have to change our position on this with the arrival of Messi. You would have thought God showed up in town yesterday.
Oh, my God.
Can you believe this?
You're going to make fun
This
of
is for a scrub team, though. This is a thing that, kind of is interesting. The sort of dichotomy that's at work here. And some of the ironies about it, as you would have to think, what the MLS is. Libby, would you say it's kind of a schlepper league? I mean, if you're a soccer fan, for all of its existence so far, everybody, nice to have soccer in America, I guess, all of that. I can pay tribute to that and understand that, but it's kind of been considered secondhand stuff, has it not? I mean, this is a kind of thrift shop of soccer. The Major League Soccer, and they have had their stars come in there, but usually when there has-beens. This is not the case with Messi, although, I don't know, is Messi far from his prime at 35 years old?
People thought he was until the World Cup, and then they realized he's not.
But didn't they fix the World Cup? Wasn't the World Cup rigged so that Messi would win it?
He had a lot of PKs, yes. He did have a lot.
Oh, come on, man. I mean, a guy would look at Messi cross-eyed. Penalty kick, all right, put him on the stripe. And it wasn't like he was booming these penalty kicks either. I mean, Messi's approach on the penalty kicks is great. He really does go by the old Brooklyn thing, right? Your mama.
I was going to say, it's like your dream.
And then dribbles one through the middle, not even like one side or the other. Is the intimidation factor that large with Messi? He doesn't seem to be. Does he have like the strongest leg in soccer or something? Am I missing something with this guy? I mean, phenomenal ball handler, you would have to say. Look, I don't know much about the game in terms of what kind of skill it takes, although I know that I couldn't do it. That's for sure. Couldn't even attempt it. To dribble a soccer ball through like six guys, the way he maneuvers through six guys, that the problem with the game is it usually ends up in a whole pile of shit. Nothing. He makes all these moves, and he's exhausted, and he's running, he's schwitzing, and, people are yelling and screaming. And then at the end of dribbling through six guys, the ball goes out of bounds, and the goalie picks it up and throws it to midfield. That's it.
Pretty much.
I don't know. I mean, have you ever seen anything like this, though? With Messi? I mean, okay, I understand. Like if Shaq was coming to town, they had the big thing with the bus.
Well, the LeBron thing that ended up being one of the stupidest things in sports because they counted up.
That was fucking dumb, man.
Yeah. They didn't get past.
What an atrocity. You remember that? I remember that very distinctly.
Yeah, I remember we broadcasted it because we had just. I don't think we had done a show yet. And
I just signed on with Wins, 940 Wins, and they had at the time for the next 3 games, I guess, the rights to the Miami Heat, which, I mean, that's still one of the bizarre radio circumstances I've ever seen. I've witnessed just about everything, but I've never seen a team leave a station 3 games into the season.
In season.
And it barely started. And if ever there was a time that you would have wanted to have the Miami Heat, I remember thinking, my God, they got LeBron James. This is unbelievable. And here I am on this radio station that I don't even know if, it was going to be a good platform for us. And we had the Miami Dolphins and the Miami Heat contracts.
Yep.
They did keep the Dolphins around for a while, but the Heat bolted. They found some loophole in the contract where the Heat were supposed to get the same considerations as any other professional team that was being carried as a flagship by 940 Wins. And the Miami Dolphins had been accorded the courtesy, which is what they really wanted, of being on Big 105.9, the FM station, which was
Yes.
a monster by
Yes.
comparison. And so the Heat demanded that they put their games on Big 105.9 in a very clever leveraged move to say, hey, we know you're not going to do that. You're not going to take your highest rated station in the so-called cluster. I think there were, 7 stations in that building under the iHeart banner at the time. It might have even been Clear Channel back then. And, there was no way that they were going to be broadcasting NBA basketball games at 10 o'clock at night on this FM station. No way. Not all season long. Plus, there
Well,
were
that's
82
there's
games.
82 games, and
Yeah.
then that team made it to the finals every year. So there's like 100 and something games. So a third of the year, you're going to get rid of rock for basketball.
The Castronova show is going to be delayed because they're still playing a game out on the West Coast. I don't think so. That wasn't happening. So they knew that wasn't happening, and that there was no way that they could accommodate that consideration, which was kind of a dumb thing. Who negotiated that? That guy Winnick? I mean, who was the guy behind that?
No comment.
Some idiot put that clause in the contract, knowing that this was just a wide open loophole. I mean, it was basically saying, hey, listen, when you want to leave, go ahead.
Pretty much.
But we got it signed right away. And I remember I hadn't even started it. I don't think I'd done a show. And Lubie, I barely knew you.
We had never done anything together yet. And you thought it was a joke when Ken Charles was like, we need you to go down there with, was it with Cephalo? Like, I don't remember. I think it was Cephalo. And then
I don't know about Jimmy Cephalo. We were doing the show with
who? It was
John Cronny was on the air, and Mike Inglis
Oh, yeah.
was still calling the games for the Miami Heat.
It was you crying in English, and we had never done anything together. And they're like, all right, go down to the arena. And you're like, for what?
I actually was ready to just say, oh, my God, let me go back to Radio Purgatory, because this is the last thing on earth I want. Some program director calling me at odd times when I don't even work at the station yet and assigning me to this kind of lame shit,
And especially
which
on
is
the
the
radio.
last thing I want to do is go down and cover.
On the radio? Like, why is this on the radio? Like, who gives a shit?
I mean, I understand it. It was a big deal. I didn't mind doing it that much, but I was thinking if this is going to become a habit, then I'm going to have to find some other way to put together a show and make a living. And I would have never really gotten to know you if that had happened, Louie.
100%.
But there weren't a lot of options at the time. This was actually the best of, and it turned out well.
It worked out. We went over a decade. But you're going to make fun of me because not only am I thinking about going to this Fakakta thing that they're having, I guess.
Get out of here.
I don't have a press pass, and I'm not even thinking about getting one. Like, I think Shirley would actually enjoy this because they're going to have, I think, like 3 or 4 reggaeton artists. Like, the word is they're making this a huge fucking deal. And it's right.
So this is going to be what, Sunday at
and it's down the street. It's in Fort Lauderdale. Most of the shit's in Miami. I don't have to go to Miami. I don't have to deal with all the Miami nonsense.
All right. Down the street.
Do we go to this?
What is it going to be like? I mean, a situation, can they really accommodate however many people? This isn't even like you need a ticket to a game. This is just a big celebration, the unveiling of Messi coming to South Florida. Well, if it's anything like the fanfare that we saw yesterday, where the guy simply got off a plane and disappeared, then this is really going to be something, a colossal event, the likes of which, is it fair to say that we've never seen anything like it before? Is the Inter Miami CF capable of staging something like this?
We're going to find out.
This will be unprecedented.
I think
Jorge Nomas certainly has the fundage to make this thing work. And is he a sport? I mean, what kind of guy is Jorge Nomas? Do we know anything about him? In terms of being a sporting owner, I mean, he's already accomplished a lot in the way of getting things that he thinks were necessary. And look, they pulled off the Messi deal. I mean, who's done that? Pat Riley, I guess, a couple of times, and that's about it, right?
Getting Messi to come to a fledgling league. And that's the thing. Look, whenever we've talked to people, we've now talked to people 2 or 3 times about MLS, which I never thought we would do on the show. They all said the same thing. Like, this hopefully gets the league into top 10 of leagues in the world. Like, you have to understand what that means. Like, right now, the league as a league isn't even one of the top 10 leagues in the world. Like, that tells you what the fuck this league is.
No, I mean, it would seem like it was on the level of the CBA when the CBA was in existence in basketball.
Yes. That's what it is. It's like CBA.
You might find a player there. I mean, maybe, a guy with the astute eye for talent and developing people like a Pat Riley can go in there and, get an Anthony Mason and a John Starks. But in general, you're probably going to find some guys that might have been overlooked or maybe got much better at being professional basketball players while they had a chance to actually work out and play against guys that were comparable and pro potential, but not necessarily upper echelon NBA talent. But I don't know. I mean, is there anybody else in the league that anybody talks about? Who else is a big star in the MLS? I hate to be ignorant about it. I don't mean to be disparaging about it because I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I always thought of it as just kind of a secondary sort of minor league by comparison to any of the stuff that goes on in Europe, and a very undesirable destination for players of this caliber. Unless, of course, you were at the very tail end of your career. Did we catch Beckham while he still had some shelf life left in the league? And there are a couple of others. Phil Shane mentioned them, and of course, their names escape me now.
Well, guys like Higuain, and you've had some guys, but they were done.
Like, that was good when you rattled those names off too. When we had Phil Shane on the show,
I know.
You mentioned like 2 or 3 other guys, and I was like, "Holy shit, Lubie, you know your stuff."
That's 3 people.
Yeah.
They've had these people, but first of all, none of them are of the caliber of a Messi, obviously. And they were all done. Like Beckham was done. Like overseas didn't want him anymore. He was not making a club team. He was done.
Was his wife a pain in the ass, or is she okay?
No, he was just old. He was just done. And he was never close to a Messi. He was big because of the looks and the wife and all that, but he was never Messi on the pitch. Like, they've never had anything like this. Like Pele was done and was old as sin, and it was a league that it wasn't like it was televised.
Well, most of the guys that came to the North American Soccer League as international stars like that, a lot of them were pretty much. I mean, George Best, being one of the examples, guys were finished pretty much. Now they didn't have some good European players. I mean, that still were very, 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 very good. I mean, where was Ray Hudson in terms of international ranking, and some of these other guys, Thomas Rangen, and they had other players on the strikers who you thought probably could be playing in these European leagues. No, what was the NASL? I actually thought that the NASL was a cut above what the MLS was putting out in terms of a product. No. What do you think? I mean, the Cosmos used to draw in New York, especially when they had Pele, and they would get some gigantic crowds. It's not as if the league has poor attendance, and have they not expanded immensely since their origins? Major League Soccer, they have a lot of teams, and they seem to have fairly solid followings in a lot of cities. Is that a fair statement? Seattle always draws these huge crowds. I know the team in New York, does well. Why are you laughing?
And he's like, I remember when Mike Eruzione and Jim Craig upset the Russians in soccer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nobody knows shit about this. That's the beauty of it. Everybody's going crazy. And the aficionados, I mean, they finally won out, right? Those words still haunt me from the Sea Wayne Country Club. This is... What? I was like 20 years old when I was there.
50 years now, yeah.
And Sam Lefrak comes over and taps me on the shoulder, the guy from Lefrak City. Here's a slumlord. He comes over to me and he says, look, Lubie, have you ever waited tables? I don't think you ever did. Did you ever wait tables?
I was a delivery driver, so I did have to deal with people in the service industry in that sense. I never waited tables officially.
Well, I don't know if it works the same with delivery drivers because, when you're waiting tables, there is the occasion that the people that are dining, very well-to-do people in a lot of circumstances, are, at least engaging enough to ask you if you have, and maybe they're repeat customers, you get to know them a little bit, and they ask you what your ambitions are. All right, they see a young guy, enterprising, he's out there hustling, trying to please, and you're thinking, geez, well, why don't you just leave me a $10,000 tip? That'll take care of my problem. You fat... No, you're not thinking like that. Sure. No, but I mean, I never felt. I don't know. I mean, maybe I was not naive at the time. I probably thought that the people had some interest in, what I was talking about. Yeah, I'd like to be a sports writer.
Yeah,
or I want to be a sports announcer. And I remember telling a guy that, and I'm thinking, this guy doesn't give a flying one what happens to me the rest of my life. He got $1 zillion, man. He didn't give, half a shit. He's just hoping that his wife doesn't complain about the salmon sandwich that I brought her that was on rye bread that was split. Not a half a sandwich, but split the long way.
Oh, God.
like you take one slice of rye bread, and you slice it down the middle of that one slice, but not in half. Is that? Am I making this clear? Like you
In a
actually
long way. Yeah, to make
you
it.
turn one slice of rye bread into two.
Yes.
How fucked up is that?
I
That
know
somebody
some.
would request that. I mean, why don't you just eat a half a sandwich, lady?
That's true. You can
I'm
just.
going to go in the back there and try to slice this thing like that. What am I, Paul Sorvino here? I mean, Goodfellas wasn't even out at the time.
I was gonna say, how do you even do that?
That was a very common order at the Seawayn Country Club. It really was. I only worked there a week. I got a lot out of it, obviously. I
He's going there a week. I've heard stories about this place for decades.
pretty sure I only worked there a week. I might have worked there a couple of weeks.
That's funny.
But it wasn't long. It wasn't a long tenure there, especially after they got wind of my French service technique, which, does everybody want to have an anchovy dropped in their lap while they're being served a Caesar salad and they're wearing like an expensive designer gown? I don't think so. Probably wasn't, the best place for me to be, but I had some experience at it. Anyway, I still remember the guy telling me, well, geez, you want to be a sportscaster, huh? One sport you ought to get to know is soccer. And I was all I could do to suppress my laughter. Good thing I didn't have any liquid in my mouth. It would have been
Exactly.
What are you kidding me, Sam? No wonder. I mean, you're despised by everybody that you rent to. God, I don't know. Maybe he was overcharging for the shitty apartments that they had there at Left Rack City. Was that a lousy place? There were a couple of guys that. Yeah, it was a dump. Anyway, he had made a lot of money on it, and he suggested to me that I study soccer. And this was circa had to be like 1971, somewhere in that area.
Jesus.
And there was no way. I mean, come on. Whoever saw soccer being a big thing in the United States of America? Nobody did. I don't know that it still is. I mean, do people just make themselves, force themselves to like it because they think it's something cool that, oh, geez, I'm a soccer fan?
I think the international stuff has 100% crossed over. People definitely watch the World Cup. The numbers for the World Cup are solid to good. I think some of the other international leagues, EPL, Bundesliga, the one that's in the Spain La Liga, do get viewership. I think they do a number I never thought you'd see in America. I think MLS, like I was telling our friend Anthony, in certain cities, like you were alluding to, do really well. Portland, Seattle, Columbus, Atlanta, DC. But overall, the MLS isn't a thing. I mean, you'll never see.
I don't even know where they have teams. Do you?
I named 5.
I mean, I know a few, but
I named 5. That's all I know.
do they even are there standings? When do they play? That was the question that we asked. Who's the young gentleman that's so good that
which we may
comes on from Scoop's 5 Reasons Sports
Austin
Network?
Robillard, Austin, the wonderful Austin.
That guy's good. I say it's interesting because it's kind of like gambling for us, where we haven't really taken advantage of it yet. But the whole idea, people used to just cringe whenever you brought up the subject of gambling on a sports talk show. I don't know about the listeners so much. I think they kind of dug it because they were all degenerates. But program directors, management people, is that all you're going to talk about is gambling? And the minute you mentioned it, you would see the phone light up. I would see, the program director's direct line to you light up and go, tell them to stop right now and start talking about the Marlins. All right, so here are the standings, Lubie. I have them here. Wow, there's a zillion teams. What are you talking about?
There's like 30 to 32 teams. It's not like the WNBA. That's why I make fun of the WNBA, because it's been around a long time, and to still only have 12 teams goes to our point more than Sarni's. The MLS, as much as we make fun of it, has like 30 teams or 32 teams. They have like a real number, like a real.
So they have to be enjoying some success to be able to expand to this extent.
I mean, the Apple Plus deal. It wasn't what ESPN does for the SEC, but it was $1 billion for 10 years. And again, the SEC, it's like $4 billion for like a year and a half. But still, I mean, to hear the word $1 billion attached to the MLS was eye-opening.
Inter Miami CF sits at 5-13 prior to getting Messi. So and last place in the Eastern Conference. Yep. Cincinnati has a team; they're doing real well. I don't know about attendance-wise, but they do have a team that's atop the division there, the conference, the Eastern Conference. You have Nashville, New England, Columbus, Atlanta, Philly, Orlando. How does Orlando do as a soccer?
Orlando, they were one of the teams to get one of the better guys a few years ago. What the hell is his name? From Brazil. And so they had a nice little run, but I don't think they're that good either. I mean, you're looking at the standings.
DC United, they've been, I think, around since the beginning of the MLS. CF Montreal. So they've expanded into Canada. You have the Red Bulls. They're a lousy team, but they do get some attention, I believe, in New York and New Jersey area. Chicago, Charlotte. Is it the New York City Football Club, NYCFC? Is that New York City? So a couple of teams in that area. Toronto and Inter Miami. And then you have the Western Division, St. Louis, Seattle doing real well, Los Angeles. There were 3 soccer teams in various minor leagues of soccer in Los Angeles at one time, and none of them did any good.
Oh, L.A. I knew L.A.
Yeah, L.A.
I knew L.A.
Salt Lake City, Austin,
Yeah, no idea.
Dallas, San Jose, Houston, Vancouver, Sporting KC. What is that? Minnesota United? Minneapolis United? I don't know. Portland, the LA Galaxy, another team in Los Angeles, and Colorado. Those are your MLS teams. So they're all contributing to this whole Messi affair. A very, very interesting development in sports as one guy now owns the sport.
Yes, 100%. That's literally, yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't named Greg Norman commissioner yet. He's going to be out of a job pretty soon. Did you catch any of that yesterday, Lubie?
Oh, it's funny. I got to Vega, and a guy that's always there looked at me because I saw people were mocking Rand Paul as a fucking lunatic. So he said one of his lunatic things. So that was all over Twitter. And I'm like, why is Rand Paul talking about golf? I'm like, what is going on? And then this guy asked me, he's like, why is the government involved in golf? I'm like, I have no idea. And then Ken, who knows a lot of this stuff, pays attention, was like, no, the tax exemption shit. So they're allowed to. Of course, no one wants the Saudis involved. The tax exemption shit still exists, so they can threaten it when people who they don't want to buy stuff try to buy stuff. I'm like, I guess that makes sense. I didn't watch any of it. It looks like a dog and pony show. They're not going to, what are they going to do? Cancel it? They're not going to cancel the goddamn thing. I'm sure it was for billions. Like, they're not going to do anything.
No, nothing is going to stop this merger from taking place. The status of the PGA as a charitable organization did seem to be somewhat suspect, did it not? Charitable for who? Monahan?
Exactly.
Phil Mickelson? Who is really benefiting? Now, you would have to say that at least it appeared, and I would think that some of this actually manifested itself in something of substantial worth, that the PGA was generating many dollars for various worthwhile charities, no?
I hope.
Yeah, I mean, the St. Jude Hospital thing was big. I mean, so many others, it seemed like, and they were always quoting these numbers. Well, geez, did you see that? We gave $8 million to local charities after this month's tournaments were completed. And for that, it was great, but did they deserve the tax exemption? What is that, a Section 510 or something? I don't know. I'm using dragnet terms now.
Yeah.
We're working a day watch out of night shift. Yeah. What are you, Jack fucking Webb, DeForest? I mean, what are you talking about here?
Oh, you're like one.
Anyway,
you're just yelling at codes.
It's a code 5. Yeah. We got him on a 417. Bill Gannon, man, was a stooge, wasn't he? I mean, Officer Gannon.
Dragnet. I don't know Dragnet.
You don't remember Dragnet, man? It was great.
No.
Webb was no nonsense. That was the thing.
Sony wanted you to know that there's 10 games today on the MLS slate.
Well, that's fine. I don't have any problem with it. I'm glad people enjoy it. It does seem odd, though, that somebody that actually had some viable shelf life left and could be playing for like Barcelona or Manchester United or any of these big teams is playing in the MLS by choice, and especially since he was. This, I guess, is to be respected. They should have had him testifying in front of Congress. How did he turn down $500 billion from the Saudis to take what supposedly is being reported as a $50 million a year deal with a lame soccer team? I mean, that's the other thing. It's not like he's going to a good team and he's going to enhance it. This isn't Aaron Judge playing for the Yankees. This is Messi playing for a bunch of schmanks. I mean, they play at Lockhart fucking Stadium.
Well, okay, so it's $50 million is just on his salary.
That's the beginning, yeah.
More than I thought they could give him. Remember, he gets a share of the Apple Plus. They're paying like a bill. I don't know what part of Apple Plus, but he gets something. Not Apple.
He's going to own the league eventually. He's getting a piece of the team, the player. Imagine.
From Apple TV, he gets something from the team, and he gets something from Adidas. on merchandise. And if you've noticed, their merchandise on Messi has gone out of the fucking roof, and he gets a cut on all of that. So he'll probably get upwards of 100 to 200 million. And on top of that, this is probably forever. Like that's the kind of deal it is. Like
Yes,
a Jordan type
into
shit.
perpetuity. This
So,
contract is signed.
as we've learned in our lives, when you can own your own stuff, that's always better than whatever they're going to give you in the long
Yes.
run. It's going to be less than if you own your own shit. So, as Messi, it's worth it for him to come here for that. And on top of that, again, like all these people have said, his family lives here. He doesn't want to be in fucking Saudi Arabia. Like he wanted to be here. So
I'll be running around with some schmont on his head,
exactly.
kicking a ball through the desert that doesn't even move, right? You ever try to play soccer in the sand? It doesn't work. No. The most amazing version of soccer, though, that I've seen, have you seen this on the beach where they play soccer volleyball? They have a volleyball net. I've seen this, I guess, more in, Delray Beach? They have a bunch of courts there. They had like a tournament going, and it was all these guys that they play volleyball, only they use their feet and their head. They don't use their hands.
Never seen this.
Never seen that? That is a wild game. I mean, it's hard enough to play beach volleyball, but doing it that way is really insane. Those are the most talented guys I've seen in terms of handling of a soccer ball. But you would have to think that this guy scores, 5 goals a game? I mean, if he doesn't get 5 goals a game, is he a stiff?
Well, and that's the thing that Ken's bringing up is we know in basketball, one guy can matter a lot. LeBron can go to a shit Cavs team, and they suddenly are contending and winning a title. Okay. That's the question is, in a sport that has 11 dudes, that's not football and a quarterback.
Especially if they're not very good. I mean,
how important. Now, again, he's bringing 2 guys along with him, Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets, who at their time were top.
Listen to you, Lubie. You are very impressive today.
But the problem is they're old now. They're both in their mid-30s. And in your mid-30s in soccer is like being in your mid-30s in tennis. So they're older dudes. But if it's a shit league and Messi still is this great facilitator who can score, that it's an interesting experiment. Can they come in the middle of the season and help this team make a run at the playoffs? Like that's actually, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever sit and watch a full game, but I'm going to keep an eye on them. I'm not going to lie.
Are we going to be relegated to having to watch full games so that we can tell a Messi story? Or do we just lose that part of the audience, Louis, permanently? No, we'll be able to comment on this, I would think, even if it's from an ignorant standpoint. We've been doing that for years when it comes to the game and the sport of soccer or football, whatever you want to call it. And to tell you the truth, I mean, obviously, we have tremendous respect for certain people. If you're one of the best in the world at anything, I don't care what it is. If it's eating popsicles, you still deserve a lot of respect. And, this is a game now that's surged in popularity to the point where it's kind of taken over. I mean, it's interesting to see where, this will leave us, or it will be interesting to see because what does the MLS season overlap into the football season? Like real
August.
American football?
I think it ends in August. There's some fucking tournament that's actually going to be down here. And that's what Messi's going to play in his first game. The 21st is in some tournament that's here. And then they'll get back to the season. I think it ends in August. Like I think that's why there's only 8 games at home. There's like 30 games overall, and I think like 15 games at home, and half the season's done. So I think there'll be less than half when they resume. But I looked all this shit up just so that we'd have some fucking clue.
Well, I'm glad you're not, completely bereft of knowledge of what's going on with this. But my only thing is that how is it possible? And I wish somebody would do this just so we could stage this event, Libby, and I think it would be a classic for the show. And also a milestone in my career here in South Florida of trying to do things that maybe were a little offbeat, a little bizarre. But somebody should comp us a couple of tickets for this thing, no?
I want to get
and then we should make a whole episode of the show out of me scalping these tickets to the game. Wouldn't that be? I mean, that would be classic. Me, Jeff DeForest, Defo, reduced to scalping soccer tickets.
We can get press passes. Like we still have enough connections in the town.
Can we sell the press pass without getting into some kind of jackpot? That's usually a negative.
I don't want to sell.
Have you ever sold your press pass to an event, Libby? Or considered it because you were a little short on capital?
The only time I've ever futzed with the press pass was when you gave me yours because Visser Mama wasn't able to get more than like 2 for the Derby. That was the only time when you gave me yours because you had to go and the access was fucking amazing that we were not going to waste it. Like it's not only the green room is literally free alcohol, free food. Like you're with top-notch media members from around the goddamn world that are just sitting there next to you talking about horse racing.
Yes.
Like, and you had to leave. So I remember taking yours and like covering the picture and like walking around. Yeah, I'm Jeff DeForest. It's me.
Call me Defo, man.
Horse racing.
What, do you want to hear something funny? Funny how? No, you were great. I mean, that made perfect sense, too. I mean, the access to that room with the food, that was unbelievable.
I like the
And
bar.
of course, the main reason I wanted that pass was so I could get involved in the simulcasting, because they had some cockamamie thing about no simulcasting during the Kentucky Derby. They wanted you to just bet on the Churchill Downs races. They managed to take a look at that policy and revise it in a more sensible fashion so that every degenerate can plunge his brains out. Who wants to wait 45 minutes between races? Once they get to the Derby and they get closer and closer, it's longer and longer between races, I would go out of my mind. They would have to provide some kind of a weapon so that you could blow your brains out right there at the track. Talk about the horses dying. I mean, it would have been people just checking out, passing out from anxiety because they weren't able to get a bet down. All right, so that's happening. You're going to go Sunday, huh? When is that taking place? The whole Messi unveiling.
I didn't say I am going. I said
You're considering going.
Thinking about going, which I
That's
never.
good enough. I mean, that takes care of the obligations of the show that you actually thought about it. Who can we send? I mean,
okay, so I was wrong. The regular season itself goes all the way through October. Supposedly the season is
really?
9
Wow.
months, broken into 2 parts, or I don't know. It's fucking insane.
What, do they take 3 months off or something?
I don't know.
How can you have a season like that for this stupid game? How many times a week do they play? Once, twice?
You're asking way too much. I'll try and get Austin on tomorrow.
We need some clarifications if we're going to do this, Louie. I mean, we may have to leave town. This could be a loser leaves town situation for the show, which wouldn't be good. All right. Well, we managed to kill some time with that. And Tony's going to join us later on, Tony Segreto. Little old school. I don't know if he thought this was going to work. I do remember when it came to town, and that's how I came across originally the great Chip Namius, who has become a friend of ours over the many years and has done us a lot of favors and is moving back into town here. Nice, mansion on the water he's building, custom made, because he made a ton of money out there on the West Coast promoting these sports films that he was doing. And he used to bring these people around on Radio Row. And, of course, I knew Chip from his days with the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. And, it was a rude awakening for me when I moved to Miami because we didn't have shit. That was the problem. You had a couple of teams. You had the Hurricanes were doing well in football, but they hadn't really established themselves yet. I mean, I'm talking about circa 1981 on that, Louie, trying to do the math just based on the birth of my son. All right, so I'm thinking it was July of 81, and that was the time, right around that time, I met Jesse's mother. So figure that we had to go out for a little while before we actually, made this marvelous conception there of what turned out to now be my 40-year-old son. But so with 9 months for pregnancy, I would have had to have been here in 81, right? For Jesse to have been born in February of 83. Does that make sense?
I would think, unless you like knocked her up on a first date, which from what you said, you didn't.
No, it wasn't like that. No, it wasn't quite like that. I mean, we got married fairly quickly after meeting, and then went ahead. I mean, I think this was by design that we said, hey, yeah, let's go ahead and fire it up, have a kid, right? Because both of us were in our 30s, early 30s. We thought, well, now is the time if we're going to do it, right? Go. I mean, it's not like I'm De Niro or something, or Pacino, or Mick Jagger, or Keith Richards.
That's insane.
Well, you have a kid in your 80s. I mean, let's face it. Are you really going to be able to take this kid out to TY Park, shoot some baskets, and then go to shenanigans after? No.
I'm already borderline. I'm already like, okay, dude, you got to have a kid now. You're fucking old.
Try going one-on-one with your 16-year-old when you're in your 60s, Louie.
Yeah, I'm gonna be bordering that. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So yes, I would say you got here mid 81. Because it
was July. I moved here in July. I remember that distinctly because it was on fire, the temperatures here, even though it was pretty hot in L.A. where I had come from. I want to say, the first big sporting events I attended, first thing I did, I met Schnellenberger at a press conference prior to the Hurricanes. I didn't really get into the sports coverage, though, until a couple of months later. I got a job about 2 months later at 940 Win. So my first thing that I did was go to a Howard Schnellenberger press conference previewing a game. It's good to have you here, Defo. We want to welcome to town. Guy came from Los Angeles, California, all the way here to Miami, and Schnelly was promising national championships, and everybody was looking at him like he was flat out of his mind. But he did have a decent season that year, and then, of course, the next year won the national championship in a probable fashion. We had three guys here. Still remember Schnelly. You can remember Schnelly. Why? Is it because of the voice or because of what he had to say?
I think both.
Both, right.
Voice is great, but he also didn't give a shit. Like he went out there and said some stuff. Like the stuff he said earlier.
Well, and he was tremendous. I mean, he really was. He sort of was like Ron Frazier with pigskin. Because, Ron Frazier was great promoting Hurricane Baseball. Hurricane Baseball was probably, I don't know, maybe this is a bit of a stretch, but it was about as prominent and maybe more in the public eye than Hurricane Football was just a couple of years prior to, Schnelly arriving here. I mean, they were about to go out of business. They were ready for contraction, extinction. I mean, they were going to be done. They were giving up the program, throwing a towel here. Miami, no, we don't have football, but we have a great baseball team. They had no basketball either at that time. Can you imagine? I mean, how hard is it to field a basketball team, Lubie? You need 5 guys.
Are you kidding me?
You go down to intramurals, you see if you got a couple of kids who can play, right? Some Jewish kids from Brooklyn, and just happen to matriculate their way down here to Miami to take a couple of classes because they saw the girls in the bikinis by the pool, and they said, that's the place for me. They didn't have much. But the strikers were like the secondary consideration, if you can imagine this, Lubie, in terms of team sports coverage here. I guess third, because it was the Dolphins, of course, number one. The Hurricanes were sort of moving in the direction of coming into some kind of a prominent focus. And then, you were always going and, trying to figure out what we can do with striker sound on sportscasts.
Jesus, really?
Jan Van Beveren, man.
Oh, my God.
Had some Jan Van Beveren, some Eckert Krautsman quotes. I used to tease Chip all the time. Hey, can you get me some Eckert Krautsman quotes? I'll use them in my next sportscast.
Oh, my God.
He was the coach of the team, Eckert Krautsman.
Okay.
Not the most, he kind of made Joe Philbin look like Johnny Carson. I mean, Eckert Krautsman, he was a serious dude.
Oh, my God.
And the team, I mean, they had colorful people. Rangan was a great guy, Thomas Rangan. And of course, who wouldn't want the human quote machine, Ray Hudson? He was that way even back then in the day. Striker games were big, though. Hank Goldberg was like the color analyst on the striker games on the radio. They carried him on the radio. Rick Weaver, he kicked him out of there, and that ball came out of there like a wet watermelon seed. He was using all of his football cliches to describe soccer because I don't think he knew anything about soccer. He had a great voice, though, for that kind of thing. I mean, he had a great play-by-play voice. Even if what he was saying made no sense, it didn't matter because it sounded good. And that was it. And Henry Barrow, I don't know, you remember Henry Wheelbarrow?
Yes, I've heard that.
He was on the sidelines. Think we got an ankle, Rick. All right, back up to you.
None of them know anything about soccer.
Nothing. You think Hank knew anything about soccer? He hated it. Had to pretend that he liked it because he was on the air.
Oh, my God.
I don't know if Joe Zagacki got involved in any of that stuff. But, and my capacity, and IOD was carrying the games. I didn't work at WIOD then. That was earlier on. And so we would attend these press conferences and act like it was important. And that was it. When's Pele coming to town? That was my only question. When's Pele coming in, Chip? Can you get him on the show? Has it changed that much? I mean, certainly the sports landscape here has changed, dramatically.
Yes.
We brought in all of these other teams, much like Las Vegas is about to do, Lubie. Have you, caught this now, Adam Silver? Yeah, we went in. Think about that. What was it, 2017?
Baseball.
6 years ago that the Las Vegas Golden Knights came into existence as an expansion team in Las Vegas, and everybody was like, whoa, are you kidding me? They're putting a team in Las Vegas? What are we going to do? That's it. Corruption, gambling, degeneracy.
Idiots.
Then what? They added a WNBA team. Was that the next one to come in there?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I didn't realize they had a WNBA team.
They have a WNBA team. They're like the best in the league. Just ask Jim. I have my girl, Kelsey Plum, man. She can chuck it. She can chuck the rock. Worth watching, Lubie. Kelsey Plum. But what was it? The Las Vegas Aces is the WNBA team. I'm not sure if they were the second one because you did have now the Raiders have moved into town.
Yes.
So you have the Golden Knights. You're having the A's come there, and the NBA wants in. There'll be an NBA team in Las Vegas, I will predict, in what, the next 5 years?
So are they talking about expansion, or are they talking about
Expansion,
movies?
yes. You're talking about expansion. Adam Silver was talking expansion the other day.
So are they
They
going
got
to?
Wembanyama now, and you know what? They need more teams.
But how many? So because they have an even number of teams, right? So then you would do 2. Like how does
Talking
that?
about putting a team in either or both. The leading candidates for teams for expansion or in expansion would be Las Vegas and Seattle. Are the two markets that the NBA supposedly is looking at with tremendous concentration and clarity that
Oh, wow,
this is probably going to happen sometime in our lifetime, Lubie.
that's crazy.
Which is, you know, not saying so much for you, but saying a lot for me.
I think it's gonna be sooner than the lifetime. I mean, they're not gonna let all these other leagues make money off the city. When they were the first one that had no problem going to Vegas. They would go to Vegas for All-Star games. They were all about fucking Vegas. So if any league's gonna be there, it should be the NBA. It's funny that they're gonna be the last of all the leagues.
Well, it happened here in Miami. I mean, we got our first team other than the teams that we were just discussing. I mean, it was a pretty scant sports landscape. We depended on a lot of other stuff here to carry us through the year, Louis. It was almost like the COVID-19 year was for us on the radio, where there was nothing happening because you had the Dolphins, and you know there was always the same narrative going with that team all along. Are we going to waste the Marino years? Yeah, we pretty much did. Sorry, Dan, we fucking wasted them.
Yes, we will.
20 years, man. You were chucking a rock like a champ there, like Johnny Unitas. And we sat there on our hands and behind. We didn't even have the offensive line excuse back then because we had Richmond Webb and Keith Sims, Tim Ruddy. They had a fair offensive line, did they not? And they would fill in the right side, but like they'll grab some guy out of the Canadian Football League that was built like a piece of granite. And it wasn't like they were the greatest, but not bad, right? Richmond Webb, perennial Pro Bowler. Sims. Had to be very good, no? I mean, he always made the Pro Bowl as well. Did he just draft in there? I love Keith Sims, but and he was a quote machine. He was like one of the best guys to go to. He and Tim Ruddy were my two go-to guys, desperate for Dolphin sound, even after a loss. No, after a loss, we used to go to Stoyanovich because the kicker was the only guy talking.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Right. Hey, Reggie, you got a minute? Right? You're looking for Reggie Roby in the locker room. Where's Reg? Where's Reg? What did you think, man? Was that a bad call in that third quarter? Like the punter would know, right? The guy was on the sidelines there, eyeballing the babes in the third row, thinking, geez, they're wearing me out today. This is my 13th time out there in the field. I was going to go have a smoke underneath the stands there. And Danny's got another 3 and out, man. Come on, Duper. Can't you catch the ball? No, I mean, think about that. We had Super Duper. We had Mark Clayton. Went to one stinking Super Bowl all those years with Dan Marino.
Yep.
And a respectable offensive line. How bad was the defense of this team?
Well, that was the thing, is after the Killer Bees early in the 80s, their defense was the issue. It wasn't the offensive line. The offensive line's been the issue the last 20 years. But in the late 80s and 90s, the issue was
last 20 years.
Yeah, it was the defense.
Yeah. The last 20 years, it's been the issue.
It's been 20 years.
But it's Chris Greer doing, man.
I don't know.
Yeah, we can't find 5 fat guys who can block.
My buddy makes fun of me, but even though it's not really me, it was my dad, because I've known him forever. The guy Justin that does movies. Yeah. I've known him since Hebrew school in like 4th grade. And he remembers my dad. So this is the late 90s or mid 90s. Yes. My dad bitching about the offensive line in like when I was in like high school. And I'm 40.
Imagine that, yeah. It's been a long time. It really has.
It's been a long time.
Hey, look, I used to have to log 4 hours on those radio pregame shows before Dolphin games. And, of those 4 hours, I would say 3 hours and 59 minutes plus maybe 40 or 50 seconds were spent going, well, if we can get some blocking today, we certainly have the weapons out there. And that was it. But we had little to discuss back then. So the strikers were prominent. Is that going to go full circle now, full cycle? And have the MLS team in town, which I have paid zero attention to, 0.0. Outside of the fact that, we love Ray Hudson and we know he's doing the color analysis. What radio station carries their games? Do we even know?
Oh, is there a radio station? Oh, good for them. I didn't know.
Does somebody carry Inter Miami CF games on the radio? I want to say.
I think someone does. I couldn't tell you.
It has to be streaming somewhere or what? I mean, where do they broadcast their games?
Maybe online. Yeah, maybe online.
My God. I mean, that's all going to change, huh?
Oh,
How
yeah.
long does that last? I mean, if Messi doesn't score in the first game, does everybody stop going?
560,
What's all the hype about? This guy sucks.
the 560 years games like now, like if you
Oh
go,
yeah,
he's saying 560, Cerny.
it's possible. Yeah, I mean, I would say yes to that. Where else would they be?
I don't know. I mean, that's a
Some
great
Spanish
question.
station carries them. Do they have
Honestly,
also an Hispanic broadcast that they
I
do?
would presume they definitely have a Spanish one. If they have an American, if they have an English one, I would think they have a
Do
Spanish.
we have anyone besides Jim Sarney in our audience that listens to these games? Please go ahead and say yay or nay on the chat line here, because that's a real curiosity. Now, if you're listening to soccer on the radio, it doesn't translate well to the radio.
And he literally just said,
It's brutal on TV. It's brutal live.
"Soccer must be a great game to listen to on the radio."
Imagine that. Well, there it is. The ball's up in the air there, and bounces off his head and into the stands.
How do you go? Oh, now I want to
And
listen.
the sound, the endless, sound of vuvuzelas in the background.
All parts of baseball, parts of basketball, parts of football, and they're all have their own challenges, but they're all pretty easy to call. How do you call soccer? Like, do you just keep saying names?
I don't know. Weaver used to do it. Guess every once in a while you have to ratchet up the energy level because there's a chance that somebody might actually get a shot on goal. But when there are 3 shots on goal in the entire game and the goalie comes away with 2 saves, it's not like you have to be Steve Goldie Goldstein. Can you believe this?
I was gonna say Goldie calls hockey and does it well, so it's like
Yes,
call
but there's a pace to hockey.
it moves. There's lots of There's 30 shots each team.
Even when nothing's happening, like people would make that comparison all the time, and we even had that clip for a while about how I would sit there and tell you that hockey was great as a spectator sport, but soccer blows.
Yes.
And yet, I mean, you would look at the scores, and you don't have a whole lot of scoring, although that's changed in the NHL. You're seeing higher scores. The pace, though, is blistering in hockey by comparison to soccer, where the field is obviously too large. How did that get started? That they decided to have a field that's bigger than any other field in sport, or a stupid game like that where you don't even get to use your hands. Don't get me started, Lubie. Do I break into the mutant society material? I mean,
Brian thinks soccer talk boring. I'm like, well, we're not really doing soccer talk. I don't think you're ever going to get us breaking down the left back and the forward and any of that.
we would be incapable of doing that. Let's face it. That would be a complete farce. Everything that you ever said about Stephen A. Smith would no longer be applicable because we'd be doing the same thing, talking about something we know nothing about, which, is fairly common in the sports talk world. No, it's interesting from a lot of it. This is monumental. The fact that it is, I think, makes it interesting because for me, I don't know. I mean, it's a crummy league that has always been deemed to be inferior. They somehow have expanded to 30 teams. They have a cockamamie system here where they have only 2 divisions or conferences, East and West, 15 teams in each. Is that good? Is that something the sports fans should embrace?
Yes.
You dig the 4-team division in the NFL? I mean, we're talking about, well, geez, who's going to win the AFC East? There's only 4 stinking teams. You got a 25% chance of being right no matter who you pick. Well, maybe a little less if you're taking the Patriots this year. They'll probably win the division, no? Patriots? What do you think?
I'm pretty strongly in that belief that they will not win the division.
Jones finally figures it out under Belichick. Belichick just being the best coach in the division by far, you would have to say, overshadows the other guys. And from a strategic standpoint, is so brilliant that it doesn't matter that he has inferior players. And he gets past the point where he's still crying about not having Tom Brady. How could Tommy leave me? I don't think he minded, huh? At the end, Tom Brady. You think Belichick and Brady were sick of each other? What do you think, Libby?
100%. Oh, yeah. We're definitely sick of each other.
Sick of each other, yeah.
Belichick doesn't care about his players. And
is that true, or is that, just a perception that we have because he's so cold with the media? Do you believe that he doesn't care about his players? I want to say that, for the most part, what he's a different person completely when he's around these players. No,
some of the greats former Patriot greats have had. Well, they'll all say he's not the same guy. He's funny, fine.
Yeah.
But he does get rid of players before their shelf life is done. So a lot
But that's
of
business. I mean, so he's a straight up businessman when it comes to that.
and that's smart. But when you hear like former players, when they talk about Shula, when they played for him, he was a tough SOB.
Shula had more fatherly
But after,
type of persona, or
They also
a more
very-
fatherly persona.
very highly of him, right? After the fact. Belichick, you don't get most of his ex-players don't change their tunes so much. Like, yes, some of the Teddy Brusquis of the world that got to be lifers, sure. But like Lawyer Malloy, Ty Law, Brady, like
He's not spoken of like ex-UCLA players talk about the Wizard.
he's not. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what that means about him, but they don't talk about him. Asante Samuel is all over Twitter ranting about the fucking Patriots. Like the Patriot way is good for the people that are there. They don't seem to be happy about it once they leave.
Well, and also it's interesting because it worked for 20 years when they had that dynamic, which most people would say the most important dynamic you can have in professional football or any level of football is coach quarterback. You need a top level coach and a top notch quarterback. And if you have both of those, then they can kind of find some kind of common ground where they can work in tandem together for the overall good and, don't have a lot of acrimony constantly being expressed in the differential. That's really the number one key to success. So they had that for 20 years, but they don't have that anymore.
No.
Where you have that type of quarterback that you can say, well, geez, how could you lose with this guy, especially if he's being coached by that guy?
Yeah.
And they don't have that dynamic. But will that work? I mean, that same formula.
No.
Because they don't have that going for them anymore, where, you do get rid of good players before their, usefulness has worn thin. Or, as Belichick used to do, it was wild, right? He would trade like Willie McGinnis, and you're like, wait a minute, the guy's in his prime.
Yes. Richard Seymour was the classic case where Brady, who should have been done when he won a fucking Super Bowl after the fact. I don't know. He looks like a genius when he has Tom Brady as quarterback and they're winning Super Bowls with Wes Welker as a number one receiver.
Yeah.
I guess they didn't win a Super Bowl with Welker. When they're winning Super Bowls with Julian Edelman as a number one receiver. But when Brady's gone, then you need talent, and they have had an issue with talent. And in that division, which seems really weird to say, there's a talent overload right now between the Bills, the Jets, and the Dolphins. So their talent disparity to me is going to bear out. Like I don't see them making some magical Belichickian run. Like I think they're sort of fucked.
If he wins the division, though, you would have to concede that Belichick is the greatest of all time. No, I don't know that he is, but he seems to me he did a lot with the team last year. Even I mean, they were a bunch of scrubs.
Look, he's clearly a good coach, whatever the professor would or would not say. I also will say the cheating's in there. I mean, the fact they've been popped like 4 or 5 times, however stupid, they still have been popped 4 or 5 times, says something about a league that everyone's cheating. Why has one team gotten popped 4 or 5 times? Like, it fits in there. So I don't know what you do with the word legacy and Belichick are going to be very interesting. Brady, I think, is going to get off, and he's going to be the greatest ever, and there's not going to be questions. I think the fact that the Patriots will struggle, I actually wonder if he catches Shula now, because he needs to win like 10. He needs to win double-digit games over the course of like 4 seasons or some shit to catch Shula, and he's old. And I don't see him winning more than 5 to 7 games a year. So I'm curious if he catches Shula, which seemed like a formality a few years ago.
Well, and also the question is out there now: will he become the losingest coach in professional football before he becomes the winningest coach? He's close to the top of the list of most games lost, as you might imagine. Yeah. So that's a possibility too. How do we get on Belichick, man, from Messi?
I don't know how you did that.
That's an interesting way to wrap up an hour of rambling. We did nothing there, Libby. We didn't even talk about the All-Star game. Okay. National League got off to Schneid, my friend. We predicted that, did we not? We said they were due 9 straight losses. Now that defies normal baseball betting protocol, which is bet the team that's on the streak to continue that streak until it ends. Well, guess what? It ended last night 3-2. Dramatic home run in the 8th inning as you had this Colorado Rockies catcher, Elias Diaz, hits a 2-run home run in the 8th inning, and that propelled the National League to the to the win, 3-2 over the American League. Many people that I saw that are known to me to be real diehard baseball fans thought it was a real good game, the All-Star game. Others, and the reason I brought up Chip earlier, Chip Namias, is an astute observer of all sport and a giant Sarni-like fan of all sports. I don't know if he gets into the minutia of women's junior varsity lacrosse, but still, I mean, a guy that will have an opinion and one that I usually respect greatly about all sports. He said they really fucked up the All-Star game by going away from a lot of traditions.
Like
And
what?
he named off. Oh, well, they had the uniforms. Don't they usually wear the uniform of the team? When did that stop?
Oh, that's funny you said that because I saw a few innings because it was on when we were doing the trivia, and Arise brought in the time run, so I sort of piqued my interest. I was looking for a marker of their own teams, and I thought they either wore the hat or their jersey, or at least there was a patch. Like, did they want to not advertise the teams? Like, I don't understand.
That's part of the charm of the game, is it not?
Yes.
You see the guys in the different uniforms, and you can identify your player right away. Those uniforms the National League were wearing reminded me. I think I had a similar uniform when I was an eighth place hitter for Kaiser Steel when I lived in Fontana, California. And the reason I was batting eighth was because everybody else could hit the ball about 500 feet, even though, and this was deadly. I don't know. Have you guys ever played with an oversized softball? There's the clincher was a 12-inch ball. Is there a 16-inch softball? I want to say yes. That's what we used, a 16-inch softball. Because these steelworkers were so strong, Lubie, that you couldn't keep the ball in the park unless you had like a medicine ball, essentially, that you were using in slow pitch softball. And virtually the scores would be like in the 30s. Every guy that came up there just crushed the ball, and then you would hit something as hard as you could possibly hit a ball, and you were lucky to get a Louis Arise single up the middle. That's how tough that was. But I think we had similar uniform. Didn't that look like a softball team out there? National League All Stars.
The jerseys were weird.
The pants just didn't really fit. Like it was weird. Yeah, what the hell was that? He also talked about, I don't know, the intros. Did they screw up the intros somehow? I didn't catch all of this, but Chip was railing away about how the standard intros of everybody on the sideline there, coming out to the foul line for their respective team. They did something differently there. And I don't know. I mean, he had a lot of a list of things that he thought they had gone away from the usual baseball traditions. You don't want to fuck with tradition in baseball, do you? Yeah, you really don't. I mean,
they have. They mess with a lot of tradition when it comes to baseball. I don't know if it's working.
You know what? As appalled as I was about the idea of putting a guy on second base, though, in extra inning games, I'm a fan of it now.
Oh, you are? I think that's the stupidest.
I don't want to see 32 innings, though. There was a time I might have. I mean, but all other sports have a way. I mean, in tennis, they played a tiebreaker, which I think was a great asset to the game, because you didn't want to see that, kind of thing where you had, who was the guy, Isner, and the Frenchman. And they played Nicholas Mahut. Remember, they played like a 65-63 final set at Wimbledon because they had that stupid rule. You just play a tiebreaker. If you want to extend it to a 10-point tiebreaker, fine. It's ridiculous to subject people. That match took like 4 days to complete. 65. It might have even been higher than that, but they played into the 60s in terms of games to decide the fifth set because nobody could get ahead by 2 games. Nicholas Mahut. Is that his only distinction as a tennis player, that he took Isner to 65 games in the fifth?
I would not know.
And how do you come back from that then and play another match? I mean, it's ridiculous. So that was a good rule. In hockey, they found a solution to it. Football, they really, they don't have really an overtime situation that you would look at and go, wow, that makes perfect sense.
No.
Because they really need to address this. Remember when we had Jason Cole flabbergasted that we actually had a theory that was based on sheer brilliance, and yet nobody will embrace it because it's too easy, right? Just you pick up the game where it left off in overtime. So if it's 3rd and 2 from the 1 yard, I mean, your own 1 yard line, that's what it is, right? That's where you pick it up. And you just add some time to the clock and continue whatever was going on in the game. Would that not be the fairest way to end a professional football game? What do you think, Libby?
I know you love.
Or college, for that matter. Why do you have to go to some scheme?
I like the college one, but I know you like this. It seems like the multiple NFL people you've talked to have never seen it happening.
Because it makes too much sense, right? They go in all of this bullshit. It's crazy, right? Well, we'll flip a coin, and then somebody gets the ball, and if they get a touchdown, they win. But if they don't get a touchdown, then we continue the game. Stupid. All right, Tony Segreto. He's going to join us next. We'll see what he thinks about this whole Messi situation. Has he seen anything like it? Guy's been covering sports here for 100 years. What else compares?
He's seen guys come, guys go, teams win, teams lose. Yeah, he's been there for all of it. Olympics.
Well, and he was around in the day where you had to pretend that, like, the NASL was important.
Yes.
Right?
Covered it.
I wonder how many Eckert... Did he do the Eckert Krautzen show? We'll find out when Tony Segreto joins us here to go old school for a period of time here in this next hour of the show. Have we really been babbling about nothing here for an hour and change? We're getting really good at this. The last couple of shows have been a mess. Back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:04.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
There he is. All right. And I'm hoping he's in South Florida here because, wow, it's awfully wet in your second home there in Vermont. Do you live near Montpelier by any chance?
No,
Tony Segreto joins us here in the show. Tony, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. I'm about an hour south of Montpelier.
I've been to Montpelier. I actually had in-laws there for a period of time during one of my marriages. Very, very, pretty quaint.
Yeah, it's
place.
There isn't a city that isn't quaint in Vermont.
Yes,
so,
that's true. Quaint
that's the way it is. But it's a shame. I mean, some towns.
What the hell is happening there, Tony? I mean, how did this happen?
They said it's worse than Irene. And
Really?
It's really bad. Yeah.
I mean, was this something that people could sense was a possibility?
No one had any idea what was going on, and now it's just devastation. We're high enough up, so we're not impacted by it, other than a soggy yard. But
yeah, I thought you were going to say we're high enough that we're not impacted by it because
well, we are, but
it's high in general. Yeah,
yeah, we are in general. But all in all, thank God we're okay. But around us, we can't get into town. We can't get into any place. So
this was just from massive rain, though. I mean, this isn't snow melting in the mountains or anything.
Massive rain.
Wow,
massive rain.
Does rain like that normally? Like they get like the summer showers are that bad?
It's nonstop.
Jesus.
Global warming.
You think there's something to it?
Oh my God! Yeah.
Well, if you ask the Republican Party here, I mean, they want to make America great
Well,
again.
if we ask the Republican Party, there's well, let's move on, shall we?
All right. I mean, I guess it comes under the heading. Yes, go ahead.
I want to weigh in on something. I enjoyed the All-Star game. I enjoyed the uniforms were that blab,
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be inclined to not enjoy the game based on that. I mean,
But
but it was something that people were pointing to.
I thought that they were innovative. They were talking to players while they were playing. They were just innovative the whole way, the whole game. I thought the red carpet. They have to make it entertaining for the people, and that's the way they're gonna do it.
It's funny though. When I was growing up and around the same time as you, I remember they had two All-Star games.
Yeah, yeah.
B, you did not have interleague play, so that also added an element of, I guess, intrigue to the game that wasn't there because these guys had never seen each other, and you wanted to see. I mean,
Yeah.
could the Mick hit against Bob Gibson?
Yeah.
And so there was that element in play that we had no evidence of, and then there seemed to be, I don't know. I mean, is there that same sense of league pride? Because you also had players that stayed with teams for long periods of time, whereas now, in the same season, they can end up playing in both leagues. It's not uncommon. But it seemed like it meant a lot, the actual game itself, as evidenced by Pete Rose knocking over Fosse there, in a desperate attempt to score. I mean, that they played the game with not everybody to that level of intensity, but it seemed to matter.
Yeah, it did seem to matter. And this year, for the first time, I swear, maybe I was looking for it. Maybe I was hoping for it. I felt that they were doing that. I felt that they were that they cared, that they mattered, that what they did would go down and would play a role in the at the end of the season. In the years past 10 years, no, not at all. But I think this year they saw that.
I'm glad Bud Selig got. I mean, he's no longer there, but I mean that was about as dumb as you could get. When I thought anyway, the significance of the All-Star game should not have impacted home field advantage for the World Series.
Well, it's gotta do something. It's gotta impact something.
I don't know. I mean, it's okay with me being an exhibition. One has nothing to do with the other. I mean, you're talking about teams fighting all year to get in a position where they would be the home team. I would rather at that point see them just alternate year in and year out and say, okay, it was American League last year. I mean, I'm talking about advantage for the World Series and National League this year, but the All-Star game seemed like a silly thing to attach to it. But yeah, most people thought I didn't watch it all last night, but I
didn't
saw some
either.
of it.
I saw bits and pieces of it, but the parts I saw, I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
What I'll say is, and to be really honest, I forgot it was on. Like at the beginning, like the professor, we were at a bar, and even though there's only 8 TVs in the bar, usually they cover all the sporting events.
What you go? What you go to Texas Roadhouse?
No, I was doing my trivia, but I would love to have been at Texas Roadhouse. We're doing our trivia at Vega Lounge. Texas Roadhouse, I'm sure, had it on. Vega Lounge did not have it on. And Ken had to be like, you notice that it's not on. I'm like, oh, shoot, you're right. So we put it on.
And nobody cared?
No one cared. No one asked for it.
Wow.
Ken had to ask. But what I will say is, once it was on, and I think this is the bastardization of all the other sport All-Star games, once it was on, we've talked about this, it was the closest to real baseball that you'll get in an All-Star game. Hockey, basketball, football are such a disaster when it comes to All-Star games that once I watched it, I was engaged. I'll give you that. Like, they seemed to give a crap. Like, the players were legging out singles, and Arise was excited when he got the RBI, and the Elias kid from the Rockies, when he hit the home run, was freaking celebrating like it was an actual game. So I will give them, once I was watching, I gave a crap more than any of these other All-Star games. Like, it actually seemed like the players gave a darn, and it actually had some drama to it, and it actually resembled the game I know, which made me feel a little better about baseball. I was like, okay, like maybe there's still some freaking hope for this sport. The fact that they don't embrace the fun, which is what Tony's talking about, bothers me. Like, they still don't get it. Like the Ozzie Smiths of the world used to be embraced, the backflips and the fun and the this and the that. The fact that they don't embrace those guys more is where I think they still, like, Shohei Ohtani should be cherished a lot more than he is. And like the superstars should get a lot more face time than they do. And that's sort of where they drop the ball to me.
Yeah, in a way they do, but I got to tell you, the way they played the game, I thought was extraordinary. They cared.
They did give a damn.
They cared, And to me, that made a big difference in the game, and it made a big difference in the all. You said about the All-Star games in hockey and in basketball and football. It's travesties. That's the only All-Star game that means anything. That you can show the people who you are, show the people the skills you have, and still play the game.
Yep,
it's the only one.
Well, it comes the closest to approximating the competition you would get in an actual baseball game at the major league level. It's kind of interesting to see Garrett Cole, the first couple of guys. I was curious because I had had a mind bet thinking, well, maybe Louis Arise, who's having such a great season here for the Marlins, and I guess came into the game hitting 382, which is phenomenal. Especially by today's standards, where you have like maybe 5 guys in each league hitting 300 period. And he's been brilliant and a lot of fun, very entertaining to watch with the Marlins, and has helped them spark what could be yet another, bizarre Cinderella season for a South Florida team. Watching him, just smack one up the middle like he's been doing all season long, a heck of a lot of fun, and seeing the way that he approached the game, as Lubie was talking about, with the kind of enthusiasm that he had for it, was great. The other thing that's enlightening, you mentioned Ohtani. But we don't get to see that much of him because he plays for the Angels.
We don't.
Holy shit. I mean, when you look at what this guy's doing this year, he's hitting 302 with 32 homers, 6 ahead of anybody else in the bigs. Also hitting for average. And then, he's limiting hitters to a 169 batting average against while going 7, I think he was like 7-4 for a losing ball club, the Los Angeles Angels. And pitching to like a 3.2 earned run average. Pretty amazing. I mean, when you think about it.
Really amazing. Really, really. It was great to see that. You don't see him. You don't see some of the other players. So I just think overall it was a great performance and a great showing. But the announcers, I have to tell you.
You're going to say something about announcers being lousy? What do you think, Tom?
They were lousy. They were.
Smoltz drives a lot of people crazy. I don't mind him as much as some, but Phil Mushnick, my man, who he hates any kind of thing like that, and he might be right. I mean, every pitch is not worthy of
breaking it down.
Stream of analysis. I mean, every pitch can't be that important.
He grips it like this, and he turns it like this, and he turns it.
Hey, he could go with the fastball here. He might go with the curve. He's got that slurve. And then again, every now and then he throws a knuckleball in there, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Of course he could go through the entire arsenal.
Maybe he's got a slurve. Maybe he's got a screwball. Maybe he's got a...
It's not like Smoltz is unintelligent, but he does go on and on about every single pitch. I mean, they used to complain about McCarver like that with, the analysis of the dirt behind home plate, and how it's going to affect the ball.
God rest his soul, but man, oh man, they would just crucify McCarver.
I don't understand the fascination with A-Rod as an announcer. I understand the fascination with him as a kind of pop culture figure because, with all the babes that he's been with, he always, it's kind of like, reporting on Donald Trump. I mean, the networks love him, whether he's saying something idiotic or not, because, he's going to get them eyeballs, so to speak. But what is the fascination with A-Rod? Has he ever said anything that you've sat there, Tony, and said, wow, this guy's analysis is really spot on?
No, I do give him credit for turning it around. I give him credit for owning up to it and coming out and saying, this is what I did, and then being charming enough and being affable enough to be accepted. So I give him that much credit. But other than that, no.
Yeah, I mean he's pulled a great 180 in his career, but he's horrendous.
Yeah,
I don't get it. Yeah, I mean you would think he would be despised by baseball fans.
But you know what? You love to knock a guy up. You love to knock a guy down.
Yeah. I don't want to knock any guys up, Tony.
No, but you know what I mean.
Not in Florida, that's for sure.
But okay, moving on.
Yeah. All right. So, what about this Messi thing? I mean, where does this rank in your? You've been here since what? 1960s, late 60s.
Yeah.
South Florida. I'm talking about covering sports. You've covered everything. You were usually the most prominent guy on the scene there. I mean, you were to South Florida sportscasting what Brent Musburger was to CBS for all of those years and whatever other network he was on, which I think he did kind of the cycle, except for NBC. And anytime there was a big story, it was let's go to Tony Segreto. So where does this one rank, in your opinion, the acquisition of Messi and his arrival on the scene here to galvanize people around the MLS and the sport of soccer and really put it on the map here in the U.S.? Is that going to happen because Messi's here in Miami?
No.
This is Tony Segreto, Mr. Positive. Come on, what are you talking about?
Where does it rank? It ranks in the bottom of it. It's the same. It's the same thing. It's the same. It's just recycle them. It's a star who is long past his prime in Europe, and now he's coming to the United States, and he comes with a accolades and billboards and all that, and he's gonna create interest for the first week, and he's gonna.
You see, this is like you were here when the Strikers got George Best. Remember that?
Oh God, it's the same. It's the same thing.
He's not a shot though as some of these guys that came to the NASL.
No, he's not a shot, but he will be. He will be.
Wow, Tony, predicting gloom and doom. This is so uncharacteristic of you, Tony.
I just don't think much of it. I just maybe if it was football, maybe it was baseball, maybe if it was basketball, something different. But we see this all the time. We see the guys being recycled all the time. We see, people when what's his name? Pele went to the Cosmos. Yeah. Everybody was excited. When Best came here, everybody was excited. And in the meantime,
Beckham we had come into the MLS.
Yeah. In the meantime, we had better players. We had better all around players. But now it's the same thing. It's the same.
Were you involved in any of these? Did they televise Striker games? I want to say yes.
Yeah. I was at the.
Were you on the calls? Rick Weaver, I remember, did the radio with Hank.
I was at the first or the second Striker championship game.
Oh wow!
All right.
That was in Washington at RFK Stadium. That was the time. Let me tell you a story. I was at a Washington hotel. I had been a hell of a week. So I got to my room and I ordered a martini, a beer, and some food. So I
respect that, by the way, that the food was a third consideration. The martini and a beer.
Yeah. I get comfortable. I got old Dolphin shorts on. I got an old T-shirt on, no shoes, and I get comfortable. And it comes to my room, and I finish it, and I put it outside the door, and the door locks.
Oh no!
Get out of here! You got locked out of your room in your underwear? Nice. You?
So I have Dolphin shorts on, an old T-shirt, no shoes. Secret Service is crawling.
Oh, it's DC. Oh God.
Yeah.
Because the vice president is.
And you look like some nutbag.
Oh no!
That night. So I don't know what I'm going to do. So I get all tied up. I go, what am I going to do? So I hear this party down the hallway. So I said, perfect. So I go knock on the door, and this good-looking woman walks to the door. She says, can I help you? I said, can you help me? Yes. I said, I locked myself out of the room. Can I borrow your phone to tell them what room to come up to? And I'll give them the idea once I get in the room. She says, sure. So the phone's in the back of the room.
Oh, Jesus. You got to walk through the room.
So I'm walking through the room, all these people, black ties.
Oh, it's like a real.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they were making a porn film there.
So I walk my head down, and I'm walking like Tim Conway, like little steps. So I'm sitting on the edge of the couch, and I'm calling up, and I said, can you help me? And the couch where I'm sitting, the bathroom door opens up, and this woman walks out of the bathroom door and shakes her head, and she goes, Tony Segreto.
No, they know you.
So I go, excuse me? She goes, Tony Segreto. I said, I excuse me, I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Play
She
it
was
off.
Miami.
It's
So
not
she
you.
goes, you're not Tony Segreto? I said, no.
No, I'm not.
You
My
say
God, she says, we have somebody, you look just like the guy. My God. And then she starts calling her friends over. Look at this guy. Doesn't he look like Tony Segreto? So I get out of the
You're still
room.
denying you're Segreto, but you need to be Segreto to get back into the room.
Exactly. So I get
Yeah.
out of the room. I go down. They open the door. They let me in. So the next day,
Oh my God, Tony.
I'm down in the lobby, and I'm all, I got my
Back to
suit
being
on,
Segreto. Yeah.
and this woman comes down. She says, I have to apologize to you. She says, I could have sworn you were Tony Segreto. And I said, I am Tony Segreto. And she says, really? I go, yeah. She says, you are not going to believe this, but there's this guy down the hall from my room who looks just like him.
That's great. Oh my God,
He's
Tony.
running around in his underpants. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Leave this.
Classic. All right. Well, I mean, maybe that would have, be something that would give you a dim view of soccer since you were there to cover this game.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what? I really thought that you were going to say that this was sensational. I thought you were going to say this was the biggest deal beyond anything that happened with Shaq when he came with the squirt guns in the bus and LeBron, which Lubie and I were describing earlier. I mean, I couldn't believe that pathetic ceremony that they had to introduce LeBron. And they had, were you at that? You probably had to cover that too. I think you were still doing TV
The
at
big
that time.
three when LeBron and Bosch came and they did the goddamn.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and they had the whole thing at the arena there, and everybody came. 15,000 people were out there, all getting ripped off at the concessions. And LeBron went through that thing. Not one, not two, not three.
Yeah.
Were you at that? That was
Yeah.
kind of a wild. So this is going to eclipse anything like that. This ceremony that the
Yeah, they're doing a thing.
Inter Miami CF is going to have, and it's coming up on Sunday. I'm surprised you're not
Are
the
you gonna
first
go?
in line to want to go.
Are you going to go?
But I may go. I'm not going to lie to you. I've considered going.
Lubie's going to go. Yeah.
I'm telling you, this is bigger than you think, Tony. I don't. The fact that I give a shit about the MLS for at least a week, even if it's a week, that's more than I ever thought I'd care about.
We didn't even know, what cities had teams until this morning when we started reading the standings.
God almighty.
That's pretty wild, huh? The women's team is going to be in the World Cup, though, so we can focus on that.
Yeah,
Since,
what they play Friday night?
I wouldn't know. I mean, I'd be a hypocrite if I told. The only thing I want to get out of this, Tony, is I want to get my hands on some tickets that I can get at face value and scalp them for the Messi game. And that would be a first, right? I mean, what when you think of Lockhart Stadium and stuff that's gone on there, we've called some high school football games there.
Lockhart Stadium.
I used to go there for Yankee games.
I used to play there. For God's sakes.
Yeah. But you don't think of an international superstar making his local debut there.
How sad is that?
That's the only reason I give.
How sad?
Yeah.
No. Seriously, how sad is that? That's almost as bad as Ali facing Buster Douglas in Little League Field in Nassau.
Imagine
Almost as bad as that.
It'd be like my friend Chef Oliver of the Cafe Max, and you go back to the kitchen at the Olive Garden to complain about the breadsticks, and there's Oliver. And you're like, what are you doing here? What are you kidding me? That lame chicken pie?
You don't complain about the breadsticks, the bread at the Texas Roadhouse, though.
Well, let's get into that, Tony, while we have the chance here, because I know Ed Garcia wasn't able to join us today, and I rally around Ed Garcia's enthusiasm for Texas Roadhouse restaurants. It makes me as enthusiastic as I've been.
Yeah.
The times I visited there, and we all know that it runs in the family. Actually, Lubie loves it. My son and his wife love taking the kids there, which is a whole nother thing. And yet, you could go out there anytime, and if you're looking for a great steak, I mean, even as the most sophisticated of steak eating adults. And have yourself just a great meal and a great time. Texas Roadhouse really is the best.
My brother-in-laws love it, and they're in Detroit, and they go there all the time. Yeah, so there's nothing quite like it. There's they have their niche, and they stay with that niche, and they have the good food, the cold beer, great drinks, and great bread. And that's all you can ask. And they do it consistently, day in, day out, step and repeat, step and repeat, step and repeat. And whether it fall off the bone ribs or the chicken or the fish is to die for. And you can get fish anywhere, but I like it there because what does that say? You get the fish, the blackened salmon on top of the Caesar salad.
You made nice work of that one.
Yeah.
You eat with a much more of a modicum of etiquette than Mayo does. We'll say.
Oh my God!
The way that you approach that, Tony, was very neatly done. Man. You could have made like an Emily Post. Here's how you do it.
I saw Mayo finally eat. I saw Mayo eat, and
man, he makes Joey Chestnut look like he's got.
My God,
unbelievable.
But I'd hate to see him. You know what? I hate to see him go to the Texas Roadhouse.
It'd be okay there, though. I mean, you know what? If you wanted to slobber that stuff down, it's all right. And you need a large capacity because the portions certainly are, right on the money there at Texas Roadhouse. That bone-in filet lasted me 3 days, Tony.
Really? Well,
no, it wasn't a filet. It was a ribeye, bone-in ribeye.
One ribeye was a nice.
You let's see. You feasted on that 2 days, and your dog feasted on it the third.
Exactly.
You know what? The dog didn't get any of that. I would rather feed the dog the boar's head roast beef that's in the refrigerator, which we do. And you know what? They reject the store brand. My two dogs, Holly and Skippy. They'll look at me as I'm taking the stuff out of the bag and go, "That's not boar's head." But they were getting none of that steak because that was going to be all me. That bone-in ribeye, it was great.
But you can't beat it. And listen, all we say to you is this: go there for once,
check them out
one time, check them out, and see if you don't agree.
What a check? Speaking of checking, I mean, is going to be minuscule compared to any place else of similar quality. That's for sure. Tony, you're looking good, man. I mean, the house is okay then in Vermont. I was worried about you.
Yeah, it was going. It's looking good.
Okay.
Thank God.
Very good, my friend. All right. Thanks so much. And a pleasure once again, my friend, Tony Segreto, ladies and gentlemen.
We love you. I want to thank you guys for the support you give me.
Always. Your family.
Hey, you're an amazing guy. In fact, clipped to my mailbox right now is the latest installment of your share of the Texas Roadhouse proceeds. So that should be, and it literally is. I could take a picture of it. Your address, I have the correct address and everything on there, and a stamp. I had to go buy stamps last night.
Can I get a picture of it?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to take a picture of it and send it to you after the show. All right.
Okay. All right,
just so you can see it. Okay. All right. There you go. Physical proof.
Exactly.
Sending this man is cash.
We're getting the next round like next week.
Well, it took me 3 months, to get around to this one. 2 months actually, but what the heck?
Oh my God, that's great.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's out of sight, out of mind, Louie. I'm just lame about this kind of stuff. Not by evil intent or anything. So, but that's the way it goes. Tony Segreto, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. Always a pleasure. I had some other stuff here, so we'll get into it. We'll take you up until 9 o'clock today. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox is going to be on the road today, and it's going to be Bert and Max's, Bert Rappaport, who is a tremendous restaurateur here, just a legendary guy, and happens to be a terrific human being as well. I don't think he's going to be on the scene today.
Oh, sadly, he's not. He was a blast, man.
He's a good guy, man. Yeah, great stories.
Last time. Yeah, he's, I guess, in the Hamptons. He's doing his vacay thing, which I'm sure he's earned and deserves. So, no Bert Rappaport, but we will have their chef, their owner, and you will have us and the eater himself, Mr. Mike Mayo, at 12 o'clock.
Oh, I want to put in an order. I took a look at the menu there.
Okay.
But
good for you. I didn't look at the menu.
Yeah. I definitely, want to get involved in the Brussels sprouts.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Let Mayo know, yeah.
Well, they were great the last place.
Well, we had a cauliflower thing that he had there. It's the other joint that he owns there. What's the name of it again? It's right there on the Intercoastal. Beautiful spot.
Wasn't it Deck 84? Deck something.
Mm-hmm.
Deck 84, I think.
Deck 84, yeah. Great spot.
That place was great.
So, we'll be schlepping up to West Del Rey, which I don't like to do, but for this, it's worth it. Bert and Max's. And we'll be there today, 12 o'clock with Mike Mayo. Great food, a lot of variety, and open for lunch. So maybe we'll see some of our friends up there. That'll be great. That's coming up at 12 o'clock today here on South Florida Live. Well, we will be coming back with more. Mike Lubie Lubitz and I will be coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
Oh, this menu looks freaking great.
Well, I had that doctor visit yesterday, so the numerology wasn't too bad. I didn't get the look, and they're sort of paranoid in this place. I mean, if you're borderline on this or that, they really get excited about it one way or the other,
Okay.
But I've been borderline forever in a number of categories.
I'm gonna say that's another book title. I've been borderline forever.
Borderline this, borderline that, borderline this.
That's your life, though.
I felt, I literally started singing the Tom Petty song. I don't want to live like a refugee because I am crossing various borders. But
My God.
no, I felt pretty good about the whole thing. I did do that number, though. Do you do that? Do you deliberately go to like a steam room before you have to weigh in somewhere?
I'm not there yet.
I used to have to do that when we were doing these diet ads, for various dietary supplements or whatever, where, it's going to help you lose weight. The cookie diet was one where they were just adamant about the idea that you had to be on a diet and you had to lose weight to keep the endorsement. So I was making like $25 a throw on the endorsement, maybe even 50. I'm not sure. So that's like $250 a week for doing what? You're there anyway.
Yep.
You may as well do the spot. Okay. It's not like, I don't want to imply that we had no credibility with this, but let's face it, when it comes to losing weight, we're not all really good at it. So this cookie diet, if you did it, you couldn't help but lose weight because you were eating 800 calories a day.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're just eating schmanky cookies, of course you're going to lose weight.
well, the cookies, the thing of the cookies was that it kind of, there's this, I guess, substance in them that you can find in other diet supplements that kind of expands your stomach to the point where it feels like you've eaten a lot.
You feel full. Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of have a feeling of being full, even though, you're far from it. But it's just however this substance works once it gets inside your system there. And so you had to weigh in, though, every week. And if you didn't lose weight, the guy gave you the look and said, hey, listen, we're going to have to discontinue this until you get on this thing. So I used to go play tennis right before I would go to meet these people every week. I would play tennis in the schwitzing heat with Ed Kaplan and then go in the steam room after that and not drink a drop of liquid. And I would weigh in like 4 pounds lighter than I was the previous time. And so even though I was the same weight, I was the same fat fuck that I was. The guy was, oh, yes, this is trending nicely here. You're doing a great job with this.
You're like a jockey. You're cutting weight.
I'm throwing up. Yeah, the jockeys have that heaving stall. Have you seen that? That's a pleasure to be in. You're taking a dump in the jocks room there, and right next to you is Dale Lynch, who couldn't make 117. Roberto Duran had a better chance of making 117, and this guy's puking his guts out before the first race at Hialeah.
Jesus.
It's good to get on the inside of stuff and see what it's really all about. Yeah. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Now that. The time. It's 8:36. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine foods served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
world, I mean, if my point was ever going to be embellished and going to be proven true, the world has gotten me sugar now.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Good to be with you here. Another week flying by here, already at the midway point here on a Wednesday after that brief hiatus that we took a week ago. That was a lot of fun, and it's good to be refreshed and feel like, full of energy and ideas as we approach the quiet dog days of summer, as they're known in the sporting world. I don't have a problem with any of it because there's enough going on for me.
Yeah,
Including Wimbledon, where we have two Americans left in the draw.
nice.
One, though, looks like she is on the verge of being vanquished here, at least in the first set, as my girl Arina Sabalenka, the Belarusian beauty, is on top of Madison Keys of the US of A, who has made a nice run here and is a delightful person. She seems to be in every interview I see. You can't help but like Madison Keys. She was somebody that was highly touted. I probably should defer to Harvey Fialkoff on this, but highly touted early on and then didn't seem to be. It's not like she was a bust or anything, but it seemed like she had reached her peak. And since then, though, in recent times, she's had some very, very favorable showings. Sabalenka was somebody that was deemed to be a bit of a head case. It didn't seem to have, and we've had this, the professor, remember when he was attacking me about this whole idea about being mentally tough? And he started talking about, well, what about the cab driver that has to go and beat somebody for a fare? Is he not mentally tough? Remember that whole conversation, Lubie, that took place on the show with Degenerate Friday?
I don't remember this at all. When did
he was refuting the idea that I said that Novak Djokovic, of all the athletes that you could possibly view, seemed to me to be about as mentally tough. I mean, he just never cracked under pressure, ever. You wouldn't see him. In fact, I mean, there was in evidence yesterday. He was playing this guy, Andrei Rublev, who is a good grass court player and has also, I mean, I think Rublev was coming off a win in one of the prelims on the courts to Wimbledon, Andrei Rublev. Now, the field wasn't one of the top players as they were playing a variety of different tournaments leading up to this thing. But nonetheless, he wins the first set, Rublev, and looks like he, is on his way maybe to pulling off this monster upset of Djokovic, who's won, I think, 42 straight matches on center court at Wimbledon. And what is he, like the 4-time defending champion?
really?
Yeah, I mean, Djokovic is unbelievable. I mean, he's got 24 slams or 23 already, and looking for 24, and seems to have a very favorable path to getting there, because he was able to win this match over Rublev yesterday. But I'm watching this thing, and in the second set, Rublev makes one minor mistake, Lubie, one swing that wasn't quite on the money. And that's all the door that these really mentally tough people. Steffi Graf was the same way. You would make one dumb mistake against her, not even a dumb one. It's just an unfortunate shot. And that little crack, they would always find a way through it and then dominate from that point on.
So Djokovic has won 4 of the last 5. He won 18, 19, missed 20, but I think he was hurt, and then won 21, 22. So he's won 4 of the last 5. He's won the last.
Well, was he not allowed to play Wimbledon in 20 because of the whole thing with COVID? Yeah,
COVID shit. Yeah, it was COVID.
Okay.
So
right.
while the last 4 he's played, you're right. The last 4 he's played, he's won. That's crazy. Jesus.
And he wasn't in that one in 2020 because he didn't want to get no vaccine. Which all right, well, we don't know if that was. I mean, that was his stance. Let's put it that way. He took a lot of derisive commentary coming his way because of that. Seemed like a very selfish position, and yet there are many people that feel like the vaccine was a waste of time. What do you think, Libby? Was the vaccine worth taking?
Yeah,
I'm glad I did. I really am, because I wouldn't have wanted this shit, to have the full impact on me. Anyway, so Djokovic, we were saying that Djokovic, I just think he's so mentally tough. He's impossible. You look at his record in tiebreakers, Libby, which would be a test of mental toughness. You get to 6-6 in a set. You've been in a bloodbath, but you always find a way to prevail in the tiebreaker system, which is the equivalent of playing maybe 2 or 3 games, actually.
Yep.
For those that were advocates of the Nicholas Mahut, John Isner theory that we were talking about earlier, where, let him just play 70-68. That's the final there. Ridiculous. And that was said in conjunction with the idea that, something that was appalling to me at first, which this has happened a couple of times now with Major League Baseball, appalling to me that they would put a guy on second base to start extra innings. But when you look at the overall impact of, do you really want to sit there? I remember being so excited. The Mets played, I believe it was the Houston then Colt 45s.
Okay.
In the Astros by then, but they played them like a 25-inning game, and they had a big thing in the New York Post on the back where it was like 0-0 for 25 innings or something.
Yeah, I mean,
all line of goose eggs, and I'm thinking, how horrible would that have been? I was still working at Che as a vendor, and there was a time maybe you would have wanted to endure that. I don't want to invest that amount of time in extra innings anymore. Do you?
No. Look, I still don't like the thing at second, but if you're saying it,
where should they put him on first, third?
I'd rather you just play the game, but
load the bases. That would be great with nobody out.
Yeah,
Each team gets bases loaded with nobody out.
Who can do more?
Who can do more? Yeah. Now it becomes a scoring fest.
There you go. I don't know about but look, if it speeds the game up, I'm all for it. I don't think the game lasting forever is what ruined baseball, but it definitely didn't help baseball. So
it fouls up so many things, though. I mean, you end up with position players pitching in the 18th inning.
100%. You're not.
So is that any worse in terms of being unusual than just starting a guy out on second base when you have to revert to guys whose arms are being dragged on the ground like they were an orangutan? Although I want to qualify that by saying that was not meant in any disparaging way towards any. That had no ethnic foundation to it whatsoever, right? We're just referencing an animal, Lubie. Do you have to do that now? I mean, we got to get on that no filter thing so we don't even have to worry about this sort of stuff.
You have to worry about things.
Anyway, I mean, is he not like as mentally tough as any athlete you've ever seen? Novak Djokovic.
Well, he's just even and talking
you
about.
Can't crack this guy.
He's even keel. Like where Nadal is very passionate. Federer was a lot like this, where whether he's up or down, you don't know.
Federer was even keel. It's not like he's unemotional, Djokovic. You'll see him erupt.
I see. From what I know, I don't think of him. He's not a Kyrie, like he doesn't lose it.
No, nobody's Kyrios. Come on. Yeah.
Well, there are guys that are passionate and fiery. Like I get it, he's not Federer, where Federer was like comatose, to be brutally honest.
Federer is just super cool. I mean, you could have seen him in the fifth set of like a lengthy tie break type of situation back when they used to play that thing out at Wimbledon, and it looked like he had just stepped off the cover of GQ. Federer. I don't even think he schwitzed. Did he ever, excrete a drop of sweat in his entire career? Federer.
It seemed like he never sweat, but so Djokovic wasn't Federer, but Djokovic, I feel like his level of play, whether he's getting breaks or not, you can't see he doesn't.
Nobody can beat this guy.
He doesn't.
He's amazing. He doesn't, and he's not young at this point.
No, he's in his 30s now.
I mean, he's just as invincible. Which I don't know if that's not a reflection. What would you want to call it? Obviously, we're using a general term here that is something that is intangible and hard to define, but or quantify. But I mean, who's more mentally tough than this guy? Anybody that you can think of? Where you just never see him falter in these situations. If he loses, you're like, holy shit, how could that be? Somebody beat Djokovic? You got to be kidding me. Anyway, Wimbledon, Jessica Pegula went out yesterday. She was in command in her match, so she was one of two American women that were left in the draw. And I believe Sabalenka has just wrapped up the first set there against Madison Keys. And this is on the women's side to go to the semifinals. So Madison Keys with a shot there. She's had a nice run at Wimbledon, regardless of whether she can win this match. She loses the first set 6-2. So a fairly decisive advantage there for Arina Sabalenka, who was supposed to be a head case, and we saw evidence of that, where the woman would just crack mentally. Remember the U.S. Open? Did she lose to Leylah Fernandez or the English girl who won the tournament?
No,
yeah. I think she lost to Leylah Fernandez. Remember when Leylah Fernandez, young girl out of Canada, right, was making this tremendous run in the U.S. Open, and we ended up with Raducanu, who's the young English girl. Two teenagers in the final that both pulled off big upsets in the semis.
Yes.
And you were looking at Sabalenka going, how the hell do you choke to this girl? You got to be kidding me, man. And she clearly just choked. But she straightened that out, a lot of that this year. Straightened it out. And, right now she's doing a number on Madison Keys, who everybody likes. That Chris Eubanks story is a pretty good one at Wimbledon, Lubie.
So that's
Have you familiarized yourself with this kid?
American.
What's that now?
The Eubanks guy is an American. This Eubanks that I see is an actual
Chris Eubanks, yeah, 6'7", black, tennis player, which you don't see too many guys that height. Isner obviously, was like 6'10", and you had a couple of others in the past, but and a couple more on the scene now. But you don't usually see that tall of a tennis player. Tall drink of water. Come a long way. He's moved from like number 130 in the world into the 30s or 40s, I believe, in terms of his ranking. But pulled off a big upset against Tsitsipas the other day. Tsitsipas just absolutely, literal proof that women weaken legs. I mean, since he's been associated, let's put it that way, with Paula Badosa. Which, can you blame him? I don't know. Have you seen Badosa, Lubie?
She's a good-looking woman, yes.
Very attractive woman.
Yes, she's a good-looking woman.
They're all wearing the same outfit, too. Isn't that weird?
It's gotten shorter and shorter.
No, I mean, the identical outfit. Both of these players are out there representing Nike. It's the exact same outfit.
Oh, okay.
Both look very attractive in these outfits. I mean, there's one thing about women's tennis, man. Women weaken legs, but, tennis players, women tennis players, female tennis players, could they have the best legs in all of sport?
Oh, yeah. That and soccer players. I always
Soccer players?
Soccer have nice legs, yeah, the women, because they're strong and all that.
All right. He's starting to show some signs of life here. Wins the first game of the second set. All right, so there's stuff left to decide there. Swiatek, the number one player in the world, went out to Svitolina, the Ukrainian. And so she moves on to the semifinals. And Jessica Pegula ended up, it seemed like she got upset. They had to close the roof. And they did it before it started raining. They have the roof on a couple of courts, and she was on one of the courts. I guess all the matches now are contested on either court, one or center court, and at this stage of the tournament. And she got upset that while she had gathered all this momentum, I think she was up 4-1 in the final decisive set against Vandrusova. Vandrusova is the woman's name, Vandrusova, who, you've seen on the tour a little bit, but, never really think of her as a possible slam winner. But a competitive player, somebody who's going to test you, even if it's in an early round of the tournament. And she's up 4-1, serving to go up 5-1 by the time they close the roof. It takes what? I think it takes 20 minutes, Lubie. Why does it take so long to close that roof, the retractable dome? It's on like tracks, too. I mean, press a button and close the thing, right? Shouldn't it close faster for $800 million or whatever they paid for it?
It still takes time.
Really? All right. Anyway, it took 20 minutes, and it sucked the life out of Jessica Pegula, who is, of course, the daughter of the billionaire owners of the Buffalo Bills and the Buffalo Sabres, the Pegulas.
Yes.
Is it Terry Pegula? Is that the guy's name?
Terry Pegula, yeah.
What did he do to make all that money? Sell chicken wings? What the hell did this guy do in Buffalo?
It's family money, but I have no idea.
Oh, you think he was in the inheritance business?
I think so. I mean,
I don't know about that. That I'm not sure of. I don't know the tracing of the capital there in the Pegula family line. But, I give her credit. I mean, she obviously doesn't have to do shit unless her father's shut her out from the will or whatever. But
he made his money in fracking. He's an American billionaire, businessman, and petroleum engineer. So I guess he was one of the early frackers, and those people probably made an insane fucking amount of money.
Excuse my ignorance, but what was fracking exactly?
I don't know. Go good. Something with oil. Some schmanky thing with oil. I have no idea. Andy or Brian, who are in investments, probably would know a lot more than I would know about it. He also has a lot in real estate as well. And then
I would imagine, he's accumulated quite the fortune there. Owns 2 professional teams. Outright, right? I mean, this is, yes. I think he owns like the whole thing, like 100%.
I'm sure he has invested. No one's the only guy, but he is the clear-cut majority owner of both teams.
Okay. Anyway, she doesn't have, that much reason, outside of just a desire to be a great athlete. Yeah. I give her a lot of credit, for going out there and competing. But she clearly got upset with this delay, and then after that played like shit and ended up losing. She was serving to go up 5-1. And ended up losing the last 4 games of the set. and I guess lost the last 5 games of the set. She was up 4-1, ended up losing 6-4, and got knocked out of the tournament. Carlos Alcaraz is going against Holger Rune today. Battle of young guys who I think Alcaraz, did he just become a 20-year-old? Either Rune or Alcaraz is 20. The other guy's 19. So that's one quarterfinal match to go to the semis. And Eubanks has to face Daniil Medvedev, who is kind of the Ichabod Crane of professional men's tennis. A hard guy to define, but real tough competitor. I don't think grass was his best surface. This Eubanks has come out of nowhere on grass courts. He won a tournament, one of the prelims to Wimbledon. So does this signal an emergence of American tennis, Lubie, in your opinion, or are we still far in the background when it comes to the world stage?
So both Rune and Alcaraz are recently turned 20. Rune in April, Alcaraz in May. So they're both.
Okay.
I hope. Look, you perked my interest. I don't remember an American getting into any.
Well, it's a good story, this kid, and he's a really. He's a terrific kid. Got a great personality. Yeah.
If he can actually do something in the quarters, if he can find a way to make it to a semis, and he can actually become a name, that would be wonderful. I mean, man, that's American men struggling is when tennis fell off the main stage. It just, I don't know why we care so much about American men. You had great tennis being played, but people like me sort of lost interest right at that time, which is sad. So it'd be cool to get an American man. I know it would pique my interest, and I would hope it'd pique others.
And he's got to be like a 20-year-old. Also, Chris Eubanks. He goes against Medvedev. That's literally a tall order, although he is equal to that. In fact, he will tower over Medvedev, who's a tall drink of water himself. I'm assuming, which is maybe a premature evaluation, of course, that Alcaraz is going to come out on top of Rune today, because Alcaraz is great. Rune has been playing very, very well, but seems to not quite be at that same level as Carlos Alcaraz, who's sensational. So you would have, maybe, if he can beat Medvedev, can you imagine this? Eubanks would probably have to mow down Medvedev, Alcaraz, and in all likelihood, Djokovic to win the Wimbledon title. That would be one of the most amazing runs in sports history in any sport, if this kid could do that. Can you imagine?
I mean, I guess he's not a kid anymore. He's 27, so that sort of sucks.
Like I said, he's 27 years old. It's about fucking time this guy did something.
He's just coming into his own. Annoying. But look,
I thought he was like 20 years old, this guy. What are you talking about, Lubie? 27? He's an old man.
He's 27, so that's fucking annoying.
Where has he been then?
Yeah, that's not great.
Was he a boxer before he took up tennis?
Just figuring it out now. I don't know
how. The UFC?
How much of a stronghold he's going to have in the tennis world, but maybe he can make a run here.
Yeah. Well, it would be an incredible run. That would be one of the. I mean, I don't know that he gets by Medvedev today, because Medvedev is extremely tough also. But he has had a nice run so far. Tsitsipas, I think, is sort of on cloud 9 there with Badosa, and they're talking now about, and he has the supposedly evil father as his coach that nobody likes. Which is weird. I think he tried to plant a kiss, the father, on Badosa, and there's a video circulating where she makes like a really sour face, like "Don't touch me, you filthy pig." Not sure it was exactly that, but
I'm sure the face was more, "No, we're in public," not, "Oh, I'm disgusted by you." Not like when you come over the track down 500 and you were supposed to be.
I would never admit to being down 500.
Yeah, but they know.
Down 500 is down 3. That would be a large admission on my part. I didn't even want to talk about it. Fortunately, the Mustang was just so flush with sticks. She didn't even know how much money she had, which was great. How much you got in the safe, sweetheart?
That's nice.
She said it was $1,500. It was $2,000. I took $5. Lost that. And asked for more.
I love
How you doing? I don't want to go to the ATM machine. Why don't you give me a couple of sticks?
That's great. Roles of reverse. That's great. I love that.
It's happened one way or the other. I mean, she was on fire, though, with these slot machines, which I don't have the slightest inclination how to play them. I have no idea. I mean, you need 3 pigs and 3 goldfish, and it's like, what? What happened to 3 cherries, 3 plums?
Exactly.
I knew what that was, right? And you could only play one line back then. Now you can play like $6 on 19 different lines. One spin costs you $127.50. They say, no wonder they want to send a plane for you. Are you kidding me?
Exactly. Oh,
Surprised they don't send a limo to pick us up and drive us to Palm Beach. That'll be next. All right, we're going to get out of here. All-Star game. Finally, the National League. Yay. I'm a National League guy at this point.
National League. Woohoo.
I was a Met fan. I moved out to L.A., kind of, rooted for the Dodgers naturally, although I did like the Angels back then. And, now with the Marlins here being a National League team, you can't help but root for the National League. We had a guy that was a prominent factor in the ball game.
He was a big part.
And Luis Ariz was having a great season.
He's still basis. He's still a base. I was like, oh, shit, looking fucking Ariz.
Rosarina is a lot of fun to watch there. Randy Rosarina from the Tampa Bay Rays. He's great. That guy was a lot of fun. He was fun in the home run derby, too. But, it was, interesting enough for me. I loved that when Garrett Cole, the first two guys hit the ball off the wall. And there were two great catches, and he ended up with a 1-2-3 inning. That shows you how it can look funny in a box score, right?
Yep.
They're slamming the ball off this guy. Right field, left field. And, look at that. He retired to sign an order. There, another nifty performance by Garrett Cole, the great Yankee hurler. Yankees are imperiled as we go into the second half. Will the Marlins sustain their first half Cinderella story? They are 3 games up in the wild card, Mike Lubitz.
I know.
When play returns.
They're literally on the 4th best record in baseball. If they weren't in the division with the best team in baseball, they'd be leading their division. Like, it's insane.
No games all the way through Friday, huh? Didn't they used to have a sprinkling of games on Thursday?
Yes, they gave them a week. They get a week now.
All right, it's appropriate because that Major League Baseball season is some grind. Imagine, we're barely halfway through. And it resumes 14 games above 500, the Miami Marlins. Is it possible? Will we make the postseason this year? Your prediction right now before we leave the airwaves, Lubie. Will the Marlins make the postseason 3 games up in a wild card as we speak?
And they
supposedly with a heavier load to navigate their way through in the second half of the season.
There are 3 wild card spots, and with the Central being sort of the NL West relying on the Diamondbacks to play well, which if the Marlins...
Zach Gallen out there on the mound to start for the American League.
We'll see.
Or the National League.
National League.
Yeah.
My inclinations are to say no, but since we've already had Tony Segreto be negative, I might as well flip my script and be positive and say sure. Since there are 3 wildcard spots, you're just saying make the postseason at all. Sure, why not? If they can just do something close to what they've done, they don't have to do exactly what they've done. I think they can eke out a playoff spot. So sure, they will make their 4th playoff appearance in 2023.
Do you think we've been an overwhelmingly negative influence on Tony?
I don't know what the fuck's going on with him. I love him. He didn't bring up the Marlins, but every time he says the Marlins are horrendous because he's so used to them being bad that it's like, no, they're actually not horrendous.
Yeah. And I was surprised he deemed this Messi thing as no big deal.
Which clearly is a big deal. And it's clearly going to be more than a week. He's so beaten down by the other stunts in the soccer world down here in South Florida, which there have been stunts. He's not wrong. I mean,
they've had like
the thing, which literally the team shut down business like a year, the fusion like a year later.
It's like when the Dolphins had that flipper in the little pool outside the open end of the Orange Bowl there, and now they would have one spinning a soccer ball in his nose, that kind of thing. I mean, like some act out of SeaWorld. That circus stuff is what they've been trying. I don't know. We'll see, Lubie. I would hope that you would go out there Sunday and maybe see some of these lunatics that are embracing this with the kind of overwhelming confidence that this is going to make soccer finally the big deal in the United States of America.
No, that's not happening, but it'll make it matter more.
Sam Lefrak is probably smiling somewhere from his grave, saying, "I told you, DeForest, you asshole. You were going to be smack in the middle of it too. On top of that, just to add a little ironic twist to the whole story." All right, we're going to get out of here. We'll see you from Delray later on today. West Atlantic, Bert and Max's.
Yes.
In Delray Beach, Mike Mayo's lunchbox. We'll get a chance to watch Mike eat, which is always a lot of fun. Make sure he puts in an order of Brussels sprouts, though.
I will, because that's the thing. They want to bring out certain dishes, but I'll make sure we get you your Brussels sprouts.
That's what I want today. That's where I'm going after this doctor's appointment yesterday.
There's like 8 things I want, but we'll see what happens. But we'll make sure there is an order of Brussels sprouts for you. I'll make sure of that.
As I said when I sat down with the doctor, I'd rather be a good liver than have a good liver. All right. Well, we'll see you later on today, 12 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks to Tony for joining us here. Texas Roadhouse Restaurants, as always, Hialeah Park, and all of our fine sponsors. I've been seeing a lot of pictures of celebrities showing up at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill.
Nice.
Mike Lubie Lubitz, a lot of people taking advantage of the beautiful Florida Keys there, which wouldn't be a bad place to sit out.
You're going to schwitz.
Schwitzing, searing,
You're going to schwitz.
jarring heat.
Why not schwitz there?
I did my walk of life in the morning yesterday after the show, and I have to say that would be the time to get out there, as opposed to the mid-afternoon, which is what I'm more accustomed to. I think my kidneys are going to go first. That's what they told me. All right, we'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:03.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.